Thanks everyone for joining today. Our use case is going to focus on Arise Africa. Arise Africa is an education and housing nonprofit based in Zambia and run by staff in the US. For the last 15 years, Arise's network of recurring donors have sponsored hundreds of students across dozens of schools in Zambia. So it's really critical to make sure those donors feel appreciated and acknowledged, to make sure they keep coming back and helping to advance Arise's mission. So today, fittingly, we're going to be talking about end of year acknowledgement letters. When we began working with Arise Africa, they were transitioning CRMs from using Airtable to using Salesforce Nonprofit Cloud. In Airtable, they did have a solution for generating bulk letters once a year, and it was through make.com. If anyone's used make.com, it's very powerful, but this was a really technical solution that required technical staff to update and troubleshoot because it was an HTML template for the document. So if someone needed to make a small tweak to formatting or merge field, had to know how to code to do it. Additionally, make.com charges money for every time an automation runs. So as their donor base grew, their costs did as well. There was also no one-off option. So say a donor sent a check December 31st and they didn't see it until the first week of January, someone had to manually populate a template and send that letter out separately. So as we began to look for other solutions while we transitioned to Salesforce, we were looking for something a lot more user-friendly, more clear and streamlined, and with more flexible options for those one-off situations. As we researched solutions, we came across Drive Connect. We loved it because Arise was already Google Workspace users, and they were already using Google Drive to store those end-of-year letters and organize them every year. We also loved how easy to edit the templates were in Drive Connect, which we'll take a look at in a moment. And because it was already on platform with Salesforce, we could take advantage of the power of Salesforce Flow to automate for those bulk and one-off situations. Lastly, Drive Connect gave us a lot of options out of the box and Salesforce features to send those files digitally as well. So we're going to take a look at all of that good stuff today. First, here's a slide summarizing those challenges and solutions, and this will be available in the deck after the webinar today. For our actual demo, we're going to first take a look at the Drive Connect template editor itself in Salesforce. Then we'll talk a little bit about how we set up the bulk letter generation and see a screenshot from that flow. For our live demo, we'll do a one-off letter generation, and then we'll talk about emailing letters as well and the options for that. So I'm going to hop on over to our demo org here. Give that a minute to load. So on the screen now, we are in the Drive Connect app in Salesforce. This is installed through the App Exchange, and it lives right in your org. Once you're all set up with licenses and users, you have a few options for building your templates. So we have a gallery, so you can take a look through, see if anything already exists that matches your use case. Or you can create a new one either from scratch as a doc, slide, or sheet, or using an existing file. So for Arise, we were lucky they had a Google Doc already set up that they were manually populating for those one-off letters. We were able to use that, so we didn't have to start from scratch. I'm going to go into our existing letter template. You can take a look at what this is. So you'll probably notice right off the bat, this looks exactly like the Google Docs editor. So if folks are already familiar with that tool or really with Microsoft Word, they should be pretty comfortable making edits here. Anywhere you see a curly bracket, like what I'm highlighting now, is a merge field. So this is where we can dynamically reference either Salesforce fields or, in this case, the date, without having to manually update this every year. So this is telling us it's going to populate last year's year. Every time it runs, nobody has to come edit such a minute detail in this template every year. We can even do this in the file name. So at the top here, we're saying every time this template is used, we're going to pull the donor's person account name and the year. That way it's really clear to see which file is which when we're looking later. The really cool part of this tool, though, is the ability to reference related records. So the table here, we have campaign and donation. actually dynamically populates rows depending on how many related records we have. In this case, we made a custom object called annual giving summaries that grabs exactly what we want to show on this table from our donation records. So it's summarizing sponsorships, the funds people are giving to, and even separating out fees, all while removing non-deductible donations. So any of those records attached to the donor for last year are going to populate in this table. We'll see this a little more clearly in an actual rendered version in just a moment, but just wanted to make that clear here. I'm going to hop back into our slides just to talk briefly about our flow for bulk letter generation. So we set up a flow, a scheduled flow that would run once a year, in this case on January 2nd. It would grab all of the donors that we know need a letter and start creating those annual giving summary. Then for anyone that needs a letter, we have our record triggered flow. You can see a screenshot of here running and actually creating the letter itself. Arise Africa needs to annually print and mail out letters to folks who donated over $250. And because this is right on platform, we're able to reference fields like that and elements to get the right person the right letter. So in this example, you can see on the right side of this, an Apex action in Flow comes out of the box with the Drive Connect package called Automate Drive. This allows us to create a new file from a template and specify exactly how we want that file generated. So in this case, we're doing a PDF for ease of printing. You could also do a Google Doc or a Microsoft Word doc as well. Down below, I'm choosing our template and specifying exactly where I want to store that. So by storing it in a special folder for folks who need their letters mailed, made the process of printing and mailing letters much easier. You're not sifting through and figuring out whose letter is over or under a certain amount, splitting them into organized folders ahead of time. Lastly here, and do something very cool with this package, which is access the public URL to that Drive file. So in this case, we're putting it on a field on the account record, and we're going to see how we use that in just a moment. So I'm going to hop back over to our demo org here. And we're going to take a look at an example donor. So Willow Rosenberg, as we can see from her gifts tab, is a regular donor. He's got a few commitments. He is monthly and tends to give one large gift once a year as well, and usually covers fees for that to help the organization out. If I want to create a one-off letter, maybe a check came in after January 1st, or a donor requests an update or needs a new copy partway through the year, I'm going to click our Generate EOI Letter button here. This is a screen flow put on a button on the page, and it's going to allow us to create that letter. So once we've pressed finish here, you're going to see a spinning wheel on our Drive Links component on the page. This can be dropped on any Lightning page in Salesforce, and it's going to show any files linked to this record. So once this thinks a little bit, we're going to see our file name populated using that format we specified before. And if I hop into my other tab, you can see what this looks like rendered into that template. So we have our name, our year, and each campaign split onto its own line along with fees covered. We're including a total here, and we could include even more merge fields from that owner's account if we needed to. I'm going to hop back in and refresh our page. Now you can also see we have that link right on the page. So in addition to having our Drive copy, we have a link we can reference. If I'm ready to send this digitally to a donor, maybe someone requests it emailed, I have a couple of options. I can press the email file action from that file itself. This comes with the Drive Connect package. This is going to attach my file and let me address this to anyone I want and type up a message. However, not all of our users had Drive Connect licenses to see this, so we wanted to make this even more flexible for folks. So using the standard email action from Salesforce, this is going to populate the donor's email. Let me pick any org-wide email address or my own to send it from, and let me take advantage of Salesforce email templates. So I'm going to go ahead and insert one we've made for this demo called EOI Receipt. This is going to give a nice branded look to the email. And in this case, this orange button is linking using that public URL. So as soon as a donor presses this in their email, they can download their own letter. So even without a Drive Connect license, we're making that process even easier for donors to get what they need. I'm going to hop back into our slides here to give you guys a wrap up. So once all this was put in place, immediately staff were able to edit these templates as long as they had a Drive Connect license without technical knowledge of coding. So they can make those visual changes, a little bit of wording changes every year in those templates and publish them so they are ready to go. Streamline that process for annual letter printing as well by putting the letters in specific Drive folders to make it really easy to know what needs to be printed and mailed off. We've also reduced the time it takes to respond to those one-off requests, which used to take maybe hours from a donor requesting a new version of the letter to staff having time to populate a template and send it, to just a handful of clicks for that letter to be emailed right off to the donor. Lastly, because of that email ready option, we have these links available if we need them partway through a year, someone needs a quarterly update, they are ready to go and can be used in reports or email templates.